Matt Schlapp is chairman of the American Conservative Union, and Liz Smith is a Democratic strategist. Let me go first to you, Liz. I should add, though, that Leader Pelosi did say that they had to pass it in the House so we could find out what was in it. An unfortunate statement at best.
I would agree. That was not a bright, shining moment for the during the Affordable Care Act debate. And look, it's not exactly newsworthy that politicians in D.C. are prone to hypocrisy and going back on their promises. And, you know, it's sort of amazing that we can even get shocked at anything that's going on in Washington anymore. But the level of secrecy around this bill is really shocking. I mean, it's an even more closely guarded secret than the names of Beyonce's, newly delivered twins. And one thing I will give the Republicans on this is that the American people don't really care that much about sausage making. They don't really care about the process of how these bills are made. What they do care about more are the outcomes. And so then we sort of have to ask, okay, well, what are they trying to hide here? And, what we know from the Roper Center did a polling that showed that the House bill is the most, unpopular piece of legislation that would, not just in recent years, in recent decades.
Except that if nothing does happen, even as unpopular as it is, if nothing does happen, there may be deeper trouble. Matt, to you, Senator Mike Lee and Senator McCain both don't like that this is done, behind closed doors. Why does it have to be done behind closed doors?
Mitch McConnell's in a very tricky situation. Unlike Barack Obama, who had 60, then 59 Democratic senators, Mitch McConnell has 52, and he's already got a couple of those senators who have said they won't vote for this because it has the prohibition on Planned Parenthood funding coming from the House. So he's in a really tricky situation. It is a little bit of drama for nothing, though, because he has already made the commitment that the draft is coming out in less than 2 days, that the whole world will be able to consume that draft, that the draft will be out there in the public for a significant period of time because Senate rules require a CBO score. So CBO is going to tell people exactly the number of people who are covered or not covered. People like me will then go on TV and refute what the CBO says, but it's still going to come out. So and then the Senate has certain rules on how many hours it takes to discuss this. And what everyone's getting confused on is what happened with Obamacare is it came out of Nancy Pelosi's office immediately to the House floor, and under the House rules, it was very expedited, and people did not have a chance to digest it. When it comes to the Senate, we're all going to have lots of time to see this bill, which actually will be a relatively small bill.
But, and just one thing I would say, Matt, is that you remember after the election, there were a number of moderate Democrats, people like Claire McCaskill in Missouri, Joe Manchin in West Virginia, Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, who said, we are willing to reach across the aisle and work with you guys to fix Obamacare. And yet there has been zero outreach to Democrats.
Liz, you need to
whereas
check your
in 2010, 2009, President Obama unsuccessfully did do a lot of outreach.
Let me give Matt a chance, and then I want to move on to another topic. Matt, you can respond.
Sorry, it's a nice try, Liz, but Democrats are simply uninterested in doing anything that would repeal Obamacare. They just don't want to play a role. They actually don't want to play a role in any of the Trump agenda. They really don't even want to basically pass any of his nominees. This is #resistance. Let's all remember.
The only thing I know is that I'm just shocked, and maybe I should not be shocked, is that Republicans and Democrats think that we don't have video cameras to record what they said previously. All right, let me move to Georgia. How important is Georgia?
Well, look, I think people are – this is a very wacky election. Special elections, I think people put too much import into them. And this is an election where they're spending $52 million, $55 million on this. I mean, you could buy a small island in the Caribbean for that.
Probably a big one.
Right, a big one. So this is not a normal race, and I think no matter what happens, we'll be hearing a lot of spending from both sides. But the fact that we are even discussing it and that it's even this close is a bad sign for Republicans, because this should be a race that they walk away with.
Matt, whoever loses tomorrow is going to say it doesn't matter. But tonight we're all watching it. Why is this so important?
It matters. I'll be honest. Everybody wants to win these special elections. This is a district that's, slightly Republican, and Republicans should hold it. And,
slightly was 23. Price won by 23. Romney won by 23.
It depends on how you look at the voter registration and everything else. But my point is this, which is I do think it's important to hold it. If we don't hold it, people will try to say this is a message that the American people are pushing back on what's happening in Washington. So I understand that. And And you know, I don't know what's going to happen. It's tighter than I like, and I'm not going to spin you by saying it doesn't matter. It does matter.
And of course, there's one in South Carolina that no one's paying attention because that's a runaway election for the Republican.
Right. Well, all of these should be runaway elections. And look, I don't. Sure, this is going to impact the press. Donald Trump, and people are going to say this is a big loss for him no matter what. But if I were one of
if she loses, but if Hannah wins.
But if I were one of the Republicans in one of the dozens of districts that are, you know, more liberal than this one, I would be pretty concerned no matter what the outcome is.
And Matt, I think that where the president calls the bill mean and he talked him into voting for it, those Republicans got a little bit of a problem. But you got 10 seconds on that, Matt.
It's not mean to have free market health care choices. It's really loving.
All right. And you get the last word.